Well, hello there, everybody. This is Ryan Stewman, and welcome to the encore of Catch for First Option Loan Officers. Well, I did the live call with y'all earlier today, just full disclosure, forgot to push the record button. So I am now doing this encore style, right, replay style. So with that being in mind, I'm going to go over the housekeeping and all that stuff again. However, if I did leave something out from the live call or your brain's going, hey, I don't remember him saying that the first time, then that's because this is not the exact same call. It is encore. So, but I wanted to make sure that y'all had a link to be able to listen to the replay, and I will for sure remember next week. This is the first time I've ever forgot to push the record button, but I guess that happens. Anyway, it's been a pleasure talking to a lot of you on the phone and getting to know you, and I'm excited to be able to help you in your business, and I brought you some great information today that I know that you're going to be able to implement. Before we get into that, let me just go again through the housekeeping. There is a video that I posted on Monday in the back of the group there. Make sure that you watch that video. It's 3 minutes and 40-something seconds. Make sure you spend 3 minutes and 40-something seconds watching that video so that you get the breakdown and how the group works and all that other stuff. It's going to tell you how to best use the group. It's going to tell you where to ask questions and how to use the group for content reasons. It's going to teach you how to leave training, show you where to leave your training-specific questions and comments on the thread. And it just basically walk you through how to get notifications and everything else that you're going to need as we go through, because, listen, this group is going to become an asset for you, right? There's going to be some of your peers that are going to ask questions that you didn't think to ask, or questions that may come up in the future when you take action and run across a certain scenario. You can go back and use the search function in the group to be able to find the answer when you want to replay one of these trainings or when you want to do something of that nature. There's going to be this group. The more that we use it, the more you post in it, the more you comment in it, the more you share your experiences, the more we all interact in it, the more of an asset and the more information it contains, because the truth is your leaders invested a lot of money to be able to bring you this information, and we want to make the most out of their asset, right? We want to be able to make sure that they see a big ROI, which also means big paychecks for y'all, but more importantly that they have something and that you have something, because you're a part of what they're doing, that you have something that you can rely on as a place to get your information and things of that nature. So as far as I know, too, just saying that, as far as I know, your company First Option Mortgage is the first of its kind to be able to invest in the social media marketing and online marketing platform to train the loan officers to do it. That's huge, y'all. So not only is your company out there running direct mail, TV and radio ads and everything else to get y'all business, and when I say guys, I mean guys and girls. I'm from Texas. That's just my term. But to get you guys business, they're also investing in y'all's future by teaching you, by having me teach you, a set of skills that's not only duplicatable and usable for real estate agents, it's going to work for your refi business that they're already generating for you, but this stuff right here will work on your spouses, it'll work on your kids, it'll work on your boss. It probably won't work on each other because I'm just now teaching it to all of y'all. But if you're good at it, it still will work with each other. And the coolest thing about it is, and just a disclaimer, what I'm about to teach you can't use it for evil. I forgot to say that on the live call. You can't use this for evil, right? The Jedi mind trick I'm about to share with you, you can't just use it to pull the slick one on anybody, right? So anyway, I really want you guys to know that by the time we're done with this, y'all taking action and everything else, this is just going to be a game changer, because it's not only going to help you, it's going to help your company, it's going to help the branding overall. It's just going to be a lot of momentum going your way, and you're going to be able to take over marketplaces. And I'm not saying that like in some, we're going to totally take over, dude, type of fashion. I'm saying that like honestly from the heart. You're going to be able to go up to any real estate agent you want and have your pick of the flock. And I want you to know that. So over the next few weeks and months, we will be on this journey together, and you're going to have a chance to leave a legacy online and take action. The things that I'm going to teach you have nothing to do with perfection, and they have everything to do with imperfect action. Doing the stuff I teach you wrong will still get you more results than not doing any of this stuff at all. No matter what you've been conditioned to believe in the past, the tactics and strategies that I'm going to teach you work. You are all good salespeople. That's why you're here. Your company invested in you, not because they thought we're going to put bad salespeople in this group or that we need to teach our people how to be salespeople. There's no doubt that First Option hired you because you're good salespeople. My job, and being a good salesperson is why you're here. My job is to unveil to you why you are a good salesperson, put you together, so to speak, and give you a USP, a unique selling proposition that no other loan officer has. Now, I just want you to know this is an ego-free zone, right? You can ask me any questions in the Facebook group. You can ask me any questions. You know, I prefer everything in the Facebook group so we can use that as an asset. You can contact me through there, and if we need to have some conversation or whatever, we surely will, but I believe that the best use is in that group. But it's an ego-free zone. I'm up for suggestions. Nobody's going to say anything stupid, but I'm also promising you that the things that I'm going to teach you work. You don't have to second-guess them. I'm going to teach you exactly what works for me. And the truth is, I'm going to teach you, this is how I got this contract. This is how I have the real estate agents that I have as clients. This is how I do all this, is using this method that we're going to start with today. But before I teach you how to generate leads, and before I teach you how to go out and attract agents and get them to stick their hand up and say, I want to do business with you, or can you help me, or whatever that magic phrase may be, I've got to teach you the art of a one-call close and why it's important that you learn it. And it's really just a 5-step process that allows you, when you have a prospect on the phone, it allows you to have a system to follow. It allows you to have some clarity on what exactly it is you're doing. It allows them to make a decision. So before we get into cash training, let me just explain a couple things about sales conversations. Okay, my good buddy, Thor Sales Warlord, I kid you not, look him up, Thor Sales Warlord. The guy dresses like a Viking, carries like axes and stuff, and he has these big, huge sales rituals. Man, I'm a big fan. He's a really cool cat, monster closer, high-grossing individual. He's out of Australia. He says if salespeople would spend half as much time actually selling as they do him-hawing around the actual point, then most salespeople would be millionaires. However, that's not the case. But he's right. You know, we spend so much time dancing around a subject and fearful of rejection to the point that we want to talk about all these fancy, pretty, wonderful things with our clients that we could have gotten right to the point and really solved their problem for them and really ultimately serviced them better by solving their problem for them and saving them time at the same time. But instead, most of us, myself included, guilty of it from time to time, dance around the actual sales process. And if you think of how crazy that is, these people are coming to us with a problem. They need to refinance their house. They need to buy another house. They need equity out of their house. They need to pay off bills, you know, whatever the case may be. They have a serious problem, and, you know, we hem-haw around the process. And in all reality, we're doing them a disservice when we're not trying to solve their problem and get right to the point. You have a wonderful back end there at First Option. Got great operations. You got staff that wants to make things happen for you. You're a good loan officer or they wouldn't have hired you. So the cool thing about that is you have everything that every other loan officer says they have. You actually have it, right? Most loan officers say that stuff, but they don't. But you actually have it. So when someone comes to you and they have a problem in the sense that they need a refinance or to buy a home or whatever, you know, we hem-haw around that. The real reason why they need that, because we are, as weird as it sounds, scared to ask about their personal finances and what's really going on, and people are obviously awfully protective of that as well. Isn't it funny how someone will give a complete stranger their W-2s and how much money they make and how much they have in the bank? They won't tell their children or their brother or sister or their friends. It's crazy, huh? Some serious stuff, though. So with that being said, and understanding that you'd be doing them a disservice, I'm going to teach you today something that's called CATCH. But first, before I can teach you the CATCH training system, which is a 5-step process, let me give you a little bit more background of what's going on, because it's a total psychological, neurolinguistic programming sales aspect that's super easy to follow, duplicatable, and you can also show your agent and other people this technique as well. So, but first we must understand that we are in the direct response business, all right, the direct response marketing business. See, First Option runs ads on TV, and on the TV ads or the radio ads, they have a CTA, a call to action, and that call to action is apply now to save money, or apply now, take action, do something. Here's our website address. Call us on the phone, whatever that call to action is. I would imagine they split test, so they probably have one where it's go to our website and one where it's call our phone. Or whichever one they've split tested in the past is the most powerful. I would imagine that's the one that they're going with right now. I don't work there, so you would really know that more than me. But, you know, when the phone's ringing or the Internet's blowing up, they're out there running ads that tell people what to do. See, my good buddy and copywriter, Harlan Kilston, says that if you're writing stuff online, then it needs to be written for a 5-year-old. Very specific and detailed instructions that even a 5-year-old could understand and follow, because that's the mentality it takes online. And so they're out there with calls to action, which is one of the things most marketing places miss. Most commercials don't have calls to action, but the ones that do, that's a specific marketing tactic called direct response, okay, because we're asking them to take some sort of action. And so once someone takes some sort of action, which I'm going to teach you to do starting next week on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn, but when someone takes action, you have to understand that they have a problem, what I call a big-ass problem. Right? They're saying, listen, I've got this issue, and I need you to solve it. And so just to put that in perspective, you're looking for the issue that involves pillow talk. I learned this from my personal mentor, the world's most effective mentor. You should totally look him up on YouTube. His name's Kevin Nations. He's also the most expensive mentor out there. And I've been with him for a few years now. And I learned this from him. And this is the best way that I could possibly put it. And so I just totally give him credit, take his words from him. But pillow talk works like this. Nobody rolls over in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning and says, honey, we should refinance our house on a 15-year note at 3.125% with $1,500 in closing costs. Like, that doesn't happen. That conversation does not exist anywhere in America other than a loan officer's house or maybe a real estate investor's house. And even then, that conversation still does not exist. Okay, but what does happen is someone rolls over and goes, oh, my God, we got to pay off our credit cards. We need to refinance the house. Surely they can save us some money. Do you think we could save $150 a month? Do you, honey? God, we're gonna go bankrupt if we don't get this taken care of. And it may not always be that big of a deal, but most of the time it is. Right? You see, people approach us and they say, well, you know, I'd like to save $150 a month. And then we don't ever ask them what for. What does that mean for them? And so to take this back to where I was before, when you go into a doctor's office and you sit down, the doctor, you tell the doctor, my elbow is really sore. The doctor doesn't feel your knee, check for a fever. He doesn't check your reflexes on your other leg, checking your ears. No, he goes right for your elbow and twists it till you go, doc, that hurt. He goes, yeah, it hurt, but listen, here's what's wrong, and I'm going to fix it for you. Here's what you do to fix it. And you're like, oh, okay. And all of a sudden you forget about the pain because you see the bright side of making your problem go away. And you're thankful that the doctor hurt you. And I take that example, funny, right? But the truth is, loan officers, we're in a very, very touchy financial job as well, just as delicate as a doctor's job. But yet, as salespeople, we dance around. So today, I'm going to teach you this catch training system to where you no longer have to dance around, but it's also a way to get serious about it. See, when you go into a sales conversation is a conversation with someone who can and has the opportunity to buy your products or use your services, assuming that you meet their needs, right? So you know you meet their needs and they have the ability to buy. That's a sales conversation when you're talking about doing business with someone who can actually do business with you, basically. Right? If you're talking about a mortgage, someone with a 480 credit score, that's not really a sales call, shockingly enough. And so, excuse me. these Texas cottonwoods are killing me with my allergies. And so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to teach you this catch training process. And just so you know, when you go into that sales conversation, there's two sets of fear and anxiety on each sales conversation, assuming there's only two people on the phone call. And one side is you, right? You're the person trying to sell them. And your fears and anxiety are they going to buy from me? I'm scared they're going to reject me. Are they listening? I need to keep talking so that they can't talk so that I can just talk over them so I can hear myself rattle. Right? We do those things, right? I say we. I'm not accusing anybody. We're all good salespeople here. We're just putting it together. And so on their end, they have this fear and anxiety as well. How long is this going to take? How much is it going to cost? Am I going to be sold? Nobody wants to be sold. They want to buy things they like. They don't want to be sold. And so we have these two sets of fear before the conversation even begins. If you were to think of like a fearometer or a fearometer, as I call it, and the pendulum swinging back and forth, the little pin, the needle, whatever you call it, swinging back and forth from one side to the other, as one person talks to fear on the other side, as the other person talks to fear on the other side. And so you have, knowing that, right, we all know that. If you didn't know it now, if you don't know, now you know. And so knowing that, your job is to relieve those fears and anxieties as fast as possible and to ease that to where you can get into a serious sales conversation. I'm going to show you how to do that. So CATCH, it's an acronym, a 5-step process, CATCH. If you got a pen and paper, I would get the pen and paper out and write this down. It's going to be basically a free flow process. It's not a script per se, but it's 5 steps of neurolinguistic programming. The way that I frame these questions, the way that I frame these statements is very important. I'm going to explain the psychology behind it and why it is what it is and why it's so powerful. And you say, how powerful is it, Ryan? Right? That's what you were saying. I mean, I know I can't hear you, but I assume that's what you're saying. Especially since it's not even anybody on this call because it's an encore, but that's still what you're saying, right? But really, you say, how powerful is it? Well, it's powerful enough for me to use this with Josh Fitzwater and JR and be able to earn First Options business. It's powerful enough, and that's something in itself, right? It's powerful enough for me to have this conversation 3 to 4 times a day with agents and loan officers and get them involved in a high-ticket coaching program. High-ticket meaning more than $1,000. It's powerful enough for me to have this conversation with over 500 real estate agents and have hundreds of them as clients at one point or another on a very high-ticket coaching program with consulting only and no done-for-you or hand-holding. And so if I can use it, and everything I'm going to teach y'all is what I use, right? What I use to get agents to do business with me, what I used to get agents to do business with me when I was a loan officer, what I do to get them to give me money now. I'm going to share all this stuff, and your job is to simply duplicate it, act like you came up with it on your own, right? I don't need the credit for this stuff. We're cool. We're friends. Your company paid me. I'm good. Now you act like you came up with this stuff and own it, because as salespeople, we sell certainty, right? We don't sell loan programs. We sell certainty. And we're selling pillow talk, right? And lastly, before we get into catch, we're selling to the amygdala. The amygdala is this thing God put inside of our brain, right? It's in the front of our brain. It's our fight or flight mechanism. See, back in the caveman days, you had to make decisions like, hey, do I need to fight this woolly mammoth, or do I need to run the heck out of here? And just fair warning, I might cuss from time to time, so forgive me for that. That's just the good old boy Texan in me. You know? And so back in the day, you had to worry about things like, you know, woolly mammoths charging you or whatever was the case back then, right? Nowadays, I live like in Plano, Texas. There ain't no gangsters in my neighborhood. And, you know, the funny thing about Texas, everybody packs heat. So we don't have a whole lot of crime around here, especially in Collin County. Very low crime. And so I'm not really concerned or in high. Like I can walk in my street in the middle of the night, and I don't have anything to fear. And that might be different if I lived in Oak Cliff or Detroit or something like that, right? But here in Plano, I don't really, and for most of middle America, we don't really have anything to have this huge fear. So instead, this amygdala is like always on prime alert. You can look it up, AMYGADLDA, I think. It's always on prime alert. So marketers, good marketers, effective marketers like myself, and like you're about to become, have figured out a way to play to that amygdala to get people to make the decision, because, see, one of the hardest things to get a human to do is make a decision. Right? We have so many options, and these days we have information overwhelm, but you're doing people a disservice when they don't decide to do business. In all honesty, you've got a good program, you've got low rates, you've got good fees, everything's in line, you're a good loan officer. You're doing them a disservice if they don't do business with you. You really are. So let's jump into it. The C stands for clarify the difference between why they think they're there on that phone call and why they're there. And so what happens is this whole process, direct response marketing. Someone has an ad, you put a post on Facebook, you make a video on YouTube with a call to action, and they stick their hand up and say, I need help. Now, that could be in the form of an email lead, or that could be in the form of an ACD lead coming right over your phone. And so when people stick their hand up and ask for a refinance, they're not saying, I want to save money, right? And even if they are wanting to save money, they've already got a place where they want to spend that money. There's a reason they're not trying to save it, they're just trying to shuffle it around a little bit. You think about it. $100 a month, $150 a month is really not that much money. A nice night, a dinner for a family of four and a couple of drinks at Chili's. Let's just get real. You can go spend $100 on four people fairly easily at any local restaurant. So $100 a month for someone to stretch their mortgage out, want to skip a payment, save $100 a month. There's something more going on there than $100 a month, right? Like newsflash. But see, we get so entrenched on the daily basis that we forget about that, right? Because we're just doing business. Brain surgeon goes to work every day, has to cut people's heads open. It's just the day's pay for him. Meanwhile, the family's out in the waiting room in a life or death situation. At the end of the day, brain surgeon washes his hands, tries his hardest, goes home to his wife and kid, loves them. Or whatever the case, right? So once people stick their hands up and they say that they need your help me, I need a mortgage, help me, I need a house, help me, I want to refinance. They're calling in, yes, I need to talk to somebody about a refinance. Hold, please, let me send you a loan officer. Right? When that stuff happens, you go through the small talk on a conversation. Hi, how's it going? Thanks for calling in. And the question out of your mouth should be, what made you decide to reach out to us today? What made you decide to contact us? If they send an email lead in, now, I don't know your company's policy, but what's most effective and what's always worked for me is if they send an email lead in, to shoot them an email back with a specific time. Hey, will you be able to get on the phone conversation with me at 3:15 today? If you get them to commit to a time to where you can call them, couple reasons. See, in 2012, Time Magazine reported 2011 was the last year that we talked. See, last year in 2012, there was more instant messages, text message, and email than there were minutes used on phone conversations. Also, statistics show that 80% of phone calls go unanswered, and that if there's not a number attached to them, like a caller ID number, then it's like 90-something% of all phone calls go unanswered. And so when someone gets an internet lead and they fill it out, and then you call them and your number's not stored in their phone, there's an 86% chance they're not going to answer it. I mean, there's a 90-something% chance that they're going to answer it. Even if they're expecting you, there's an 86% chance, even if they're expecting you, they're not going to answer it. And if they're submitting that lead to multiple mortgage websites, they're going to let the first two people call them in, and they're going to stop answering unknown numbers after that, most cases. Extreme engineers excluded, obviously, right? And with that in mind, when they reach out to you, you're going to ask them, say, tell me, what made you decide to reach out to us today? So you set a time, and then when they called you through that ACD, or when you called them through the email lead that you set the time with, and you ask them, what made you decide to reach out to me today? What made you decide to get on the phone with me today? They're going to tell you what they're really up to, or they're going to give you a semi-foreshadowing hint of it, right? Well, I saw your commercial on the radio, or heard your commercial on the radio, and was thinking, I could probably save some money. And we've been in our house for a little while, so I just wanted to kind of see what the rates and fees were and what you guys had to offer. Your next step is assign their mind to an agenda. Okay, so the first step is, well, what made you decide to reach out to us here? Once they unveil it, no matter what they say, okay, great, or awesome, or thank you, whatever your personality is, awesome. Well, let's do this. Let me ask you some questions about your finances and background and all this stuff to where I can put a loan application together and get to a little sense about where you would be a fit, what products would be most beneficial to your particular situation. And as we're going through this and I'm asking you questions, I just ask that you answer them as honest as you can. And in the meantime, if you have any questions for me, feel free to interrupt me and ask me any questions, and I'll be as honest, and I'll give you a 100% honest answer as well. Does that sound fair? Of course they're going to say yes. Thousands of strategy sessions I've done, nobody's ever said no, not even jokingly. And so, of course, they're going to say yes. And they say yes. And so what happens is you go into the T. You're going to talk them through the pain. But before we jump into what exactly that means, let's just take a few steps so I can outline and give you the framing and the background of the psychology, the neuro-linguistic programming behind what's going on in those first two steps. Okay, step one is you've pointed out that they've made a decision. Getting a human to make a decision is one of the hardest things ever, right? Because there's so much information, just like I talked about. And so you've got them to admit to themselves. See, there's this book called Influence by Robert Cialdini. If you're a bookworm, go get it tonight. It teaches you the laws of influence, and one of them is called the click-worm method. And that means that if you tell me something, even if it's a complete lie, and then I repeat what you tell me back, then you're going to have to stay consistent with it, right? You're not going to, even if it's a lie, you're going to defend that lie. So but it works for the straight and narrow too. So when you ask somebody, hey, what made you decide to reach out to me today? And they answer, they've admitted subconsciously that they made a decision to reach out to you. And that's what we want people to do, is acknowledge that they made a decision, even subconsciously. That's the first step. Information is key, ladies and gentlemen. So once you say, okay, wonderful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you some questions to see what programs and products that we have that would be most beneficial to your situation. I'm going to need to know a little bit about your finances, your work history, and all that good stuff. I'm going to ask you some questions. And in the meantime, while we're going through this, if you have any questions for me, feel free to interrupt and ask me anything as well, and I'll answer them honestly. Does that sound fair? Well, yes, of course. Okay, so then they've made an agreement with you. So two of the hardest things to get a person to do is make a decision and agree with you on something. Think I'm lying? Go look at my Facebook page. By the way, we should all be friends on Facebook because you're going to be following a lot of the stuff I do and replicating it. The fastest way to get to my personal profile is likeryan.com. We're all in the Facebook group, so you can just send me a friend request from there as well. And feel free to chime in, write on my wall, whatever. My wall is an open place. I'm going to teach y'all to do the same thing. And if you see I've got agents and everything else trained to post on there on a regular basis, you'll be able to do the same thing when we're done or as we're rolling. And so you've put two things in place. You've got them to admit that they made a decision, and you've got them to agree to an agenda. Those are major, powerful steps in knocking down barriers that will not come up later because we've already knocked them down in the beginning. Think of it this way from the agreeing to an agenda standpoint. You go to a doctor's office. I like doctors because we're doctors, right? We're diagnosing people's financial problems and solving them. We're financial doctors. Dr. Stuman has a nice ring to it. So anyway, when you go into that doctor's office, right now you go in there and they give you a piece of paper to fill out. You sit down and then you wait. And you're already nervous because you're in the doctor's office and whatever's wrong with you or whatever bad news you're expecting or whatever the case, right? And so there's this anxiety and fear, just like on a sales conversation, that's going on in your mind, in your body. And you wait, and you don't know how long it's going to be before you get good or bad news or healed or less sick or whatever the case. But wouldn't it be a lot cooler if you walked into the doctor's office, she handed you that piece of paper, and she's like, okay, now listen, go sit over there, third chair on the left, and in 3.5 minutes, you should be done filling out that paperwork. A lady in a yellow nurse's uniform is going to come through the second door on your right over there. She's going to take you down the hallway, 5 doors on your left. You're going to strip down to your butt naked, and then we're going to come in with the doctor, rubber gloves and all, and you'll be out here in 45 minutes total time and back about your business. Sound fair? Dude, when you went to the doctor, you'd be like, okay, I know what I got coming. And I know I'm going to be out of here in 45 minutes. Let's roll. That took away major amounts of stress and anxiety that you were going to have because there's no end in sight. But once you have an actual goal plan and agenda that you've agreed to, you can see how that will relieve some of your anxiety. Same thing for mortgages. Same thing for everything. I'm about to sneeze. There it went. So, sorry about that. So, the key is where we get serious in this phone conversation. See, we've programmed somebody up front that they've made a decision and agreed to our agenda, right? Our agenda, not theirs, right? We clarified the difference between why they thought they were there and why they're really there. We got them to agree to our agenda. So the next thing we need to do is talk them through the pain. See, people make buying decisions based on pain and relief of pain a lot faster than they do pleasure. But again, most people are scared of pain, like the doctor that just goes straight for the elbow and twists it because he's trying to help you. That's what really people need, but most people want to feel around and check your knees and temperature and all that other stuff and not solve the elbow problem. But people buy based on pain. People make buying decisions based on pain because of that amygdala. I told you we were selling to the amygdala. That's why you can't use this stuff for evil. You have to use it for good, but it's powerful stuff. So you're talking them through the pain. So, again, on the pillow talk side of things, people roll over and they say, you know, we need to save money because if we're going to pay off that credit card that we have that's $5,000, we're going to need to put an extra $150 on top of what we're paying right now to have it paid down in the next 2 years. And you know, the $5,000 credit card's really stressing me out, honey. So I think we should refinance the house. And if we have equity, we should just use that to pay it off. What do you think? Right? That's pillow talk. That's serious talk. What you're trying to do is you're trying to talk to them and figure out where that pain is. So while you're on the phone with them, don't concern yourself. I know this goes against probably everything you've ever thought. Don't concern yourself with rates and fees. Right? That's something that if we handle all this business on the front end correctly, it shouldn't be an objection in the back. It never was for me. It never is for my clients. It won't be for y'all. So the type of questions you're going to ask them, right, because as I'll teach you next week on Facebook, you got to engage people, asking questions. Question the confession. You're going to ask them questions like, okay, so what is your overall goal with and we're talking refinances. I'll give you the same sales conversation for real estate agents at the end of this. I'll go through it real quick. But right now, I want y'all to get started in a heavy way and practice this with your refinances. And then next week when I start teaching you how to generate leads, you can use it with those people, your agents and investors. You say, well, what is your overall goal with refinancing your home here, sir? You say, well, you know, I'd like to save some money monthly. What do you have planned? Do you have specific plans or something that you want to buy in particular or anything like that? No, would you have actually, or no, they're going to say 1 to 2, right? You keep probing a little bit further. Well, what exactly, do you have a number in mind that you'd like to save on a monthly basis? Have you thought about it? And see, what happens is when you ask them, do you have a number in mind that you'd like to save? Have you thought about it? And they're going to say, well, I'm thinking, you know, I'd like to save about $150 a month. Okay, wonderful. Your job then, and this is being very specific, your job then is when you pull their credit, look and see what payments they have that are $150 a month. See what credit cards they have that are almost maxed out. Say, well, if you think about saving $150 a month, are you going to want to pay it down towards the credit cards here? It looks like you've got a couple cards that are close to, you know, $2,000 or $3,000, $5,000 on them. Are you going to use that to pay off, or you have, you know, what's your overall goal? We're going to go through this together. I just want to make sure that I've got everything in place for you because I'm going to give you a couple of options so that way you can pick the best one for you, or at least I'm going to give you the best option. I want to make sure that I have all the information I need. I don't mean to be intrusive. I just want to make sure that we do the right things. You know, mortgages, you sure probably hear it everywhere. It's not easy. So I want to make sure that we get it right and cover all of our bases. Does that sound cool to you, sir? Get them to re-agree with you. They're going to tell you, yeah, you know, my wife and I are really stressed out because we got $5,000 in credit card debt, and we're making the minimum payment right now, but it's definitely not paying any of it off. And we figured that if we refinance, we could skip a month's payment. You know, if we close at the end of May, then we wouldn't have to make a payment in June. And then we could take that $1,500 monthly payment that we have and pay it down on that credit card, plus, which would make the payments go lower, but we could take the payment that we are already making plus add $150 in savings, and we could have our credit card paid off in 18 months. That's what we were thinking, and that's really where that $150 number came from. And, ladies and gentlemen, that's not a perfect world conversation. That's like an everyday conversation I'm sure that y'all have, right? You just need to draw it out of them. Once you draw it out of them, you talk them through the pain, you find out what it is. Okay, we know in this scenario it's that $5,000 credit card, for example. Then the next C in catch is close them. Here's how that close works. Again, you're going to adapt this into there's only 2 scripts in this whole process, and that's what made you decide to reach out to me today. And wonderful. What we'll do is I'm going to ask you some questions about your financial and personal and job information so that I can make sure that you're a fit for the right products that we have here, that you're in the right financial vehicle for your family and your home. And as I'm going through this, I'm going to ask you questions. All I ask is that you answer them honestly. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to interrupt me and ask the questions. Sound fair? Those are really the only 2 scripted. And even still, those are free flow statements. But the framing is what matters the most. Once you talk them through the pain to close, here's how this works. You repeat back to them what that problem is, right? So, sir, if I understand right, you're trying to refinance so you can save about $150 or more a month so that you can pay off this $5,000 Bank of America credit card. You said you were going to skip a month, so obviously you want to close at the end of May. Skip the month of June. You're going to make the $1,500 payment on that. You obviously don't want to come to the closing table with any money. I'm hearing this correct, right? Because you want to use the skip month payment to be able to pay down this credit card, and then you actually have a plan in place to pay your credit card off in 18 months should this all fall into place, right? Yes. That's exactly what I want to do. Great. So if I can make all that happen for you, and maybe even some more, would there be anything else that would keep us from being able to do business together? Well, I'd like to. They're going to say no. If you can solve that problem, I'm all feed in. Or they may say, well, I wanted to shop around and get an opinion from a couple other places. You say, wonderful. You can say one of 2 things. These days, everything's guaranteed. So any numbers that I give you are going to be spot on the money. And, sorry, phone beeping, it should have been turned off. And so you're able to say, hey, I can guarantee these numbers within $500 that I give to you, right, if it's about that. Or you could say, listen, it's my experience that we're going to have the most competitive, most times the lowest rates and fees out there. But the truth is, if you go find somebody that's $500 less a month in closing, or $500 less in closing costs and 1/8 of a point cheaper than me, then you're still only going to save about $15 a month. That's 50 cents a day. Or you can save your time, but we can get rolling. Use your own language on that. Not everybody's got that certainty, charismatic attitude like I do. It helps. I promise you it helps. You should definitely adopt it. There's nothing wrong with it. Because people buy certainty. People buy somebody that says, hey, come on, let's go. Versus he that says, hey, do you want to go over here? Right? Think about it. When we were kids, the leaders of our schools were the kids that said, hey, let's go swing on the slide and swing. And everybody said, yeah. The leaders of our school weren't the people that stood up and said, hey, do you think that we should go swing on the slide or whatever? I don't know. I guess you do that, but you get what I'm saying. Right? We look for certainty as humans, right? We have this like wired, predispositionally wired for someone to be our leader. So you close them. You ask them, would there be any other objections? If they have objections, you help overcome those objections. That's where the H comes in. If they have objections, you just help them overcome. You help them overcome them objections. Well, sir, listen. If it really is about rates and fees, if you like right now, as funny as that sounds, if you like right now, I'll lock your loan in at this price, but I need a full commitment from you in the payment for the appraisal. And I'll refund you that payment back. If you have the ability, hey, you know what, I give you a $250 discount towards fees. Absorb it in the rate however your company works. Hey, well, sir, if it really is about that, I'll make sure to give you an additional $250 off our fees, but I want to earn your business. I'm trying to do you a favor because I honestly believe I'm the best in the business, and I'd be doing you a disservice if you spent your time talking to 2 or 3 other loan officers on the phone. I promise you, in your good hands, I'm going to help you pay off that credit card the way that you want it to, sir. This is what I need from you. Tax returns, bank statements, your W-2s. I also need your retirement statements. You fax that to 214-616-6434. I'm also going to shoot you an email to your email address that you gave me while we were filling out the application, and we'll get started. We can close this bad boy in 12 days if you're ready, or whatever your turn times are. You find out that when you put that on them, that helped them make the, well, if it's really that big of a deal, sir, the H, help them make a decision. If it's really that big of a deal, sir, then what I'll do is I'll knock an additional $250 off of my fee as long as you'll agree to do business today. And what I'm going to need from you in order to get business done today and commit to that is tax returns, W-2s, bank statements, retirement statements, and the last month's worth of paycheck stubs. When can I expect you to get me those items, sir? And so what happens then, and it all becomes, you've diagnosed their pain. You're going to help them pay off that credit card. You're going to help them save that savings plan, lower the term on their mortgage. Like the big deal for me, I just bought a house a week ago, something like that, last Friday. Spent all weekend moving. Big fun. Nice house, big house, moving sucks. So keep that in mind, too, when you're dealing with people, right? Moving is a very stressful time. My wife and I, she was not around while just a little side note here, she was not around while I had Simple Furniture. I woke up at 4:30 every morning and came here all by myself so that nobody had to hear me scream and break stuff and everything else, right? And my wife makes a joke. She's like, yeah, surefire way to get a divorce is if a couple decides to assemble furniture together. So anyway, I just say that side because there is a lot of stress that we don't realize, right? Well, funny thing about me is I bought a house 2 weeks ago, and I have no clue what the interest rate is. I know I got a good deal because I was very specific on who I sought out to do it for me, and I'll give you the details here in a second. I had no idea. I guess I'll learn when I get my paperwork. I can go look it up, but I don't care. The pillow talk for me was, my wife says, listen, we need another house. The one we have is not big enough. We have a baby now. We lived in a small just home for us. Now we bought a nice little 2-story home, big backyard and all that stuff. So she says, we need a new house so Jax has a place to grow up in a backyard that's bigger and, his own little area and all that, spoiled kid. And she said, Jax is my son, by the way. She says, but the problem is we've made 3 offers on homes and they've all been sold out from under us. We got to find somebody that if we get this contract accepted, that moves fast. And I thought, okay, I'm going to call my buddy Mike. Mike works for Willow Bend. Good company. They don't hire anybody. They've been on a hiring freeze for 15 years. It's a good company. Only old schoolers work there, and there's no BS backup. They'll move it fast. I'll get in touch with Mike because he already has my finances, some of my stuff on file from a couple years ago. Now, Mike's not one of my clients, but he's the first person I thought of. And I got a lot of people to think about in mortgage and real estate. But he's the first person I thought of because his company fit my specific need. I didn't go to Mike because he had low rates and fees. Hell, I don't know what his fees were. I didn't pay attention. But when we had to get this contract moving fast, he made it happen for us. Same thing when I reached out and got an agent. I work with a lot of agents, especially a lot in my area. I get to the point I can't even, ladies and gentlemen, I can't even go on Facebook and publicly thank my agent for her help because it might hurt other people's feelings, right? And she's okay with that. She understands, and she's a client. But that did not factor into it. When I said I needed an agent, my wife and I said we need Amanda because Amanda will walk into someone's office with paperwork in hand and say, sign this contract. Or Amanda will protect us. And Amanda will answer the phone at 10 o'clock at night and go run over there and get some paperwork signed or whatever we need. Because she's a hustler. It's not like she doesn't have anything to do. She's the broker leader of her office, but she is a deal maker. She's fast and effective, and that's who we need to represent us in this market. It wasn't about, will she give us money back, because we surely didn't ask her for that. It wasn't about, was she a client, it was someone who can act fast, right? And that was because my big-ass problem was I needed someone who could put a contract in on a house fast and someone who could close it fast. And so we think because we work around rates and fees and listen to other loan officers and real estate agents talk about rates and fees, that that's what the client cares about, when 9 times out of 10 they don't even understand how that stuff works anyway. They just want the problem solved. So that's how you can use Catch for refinances. Okay, I wanted to share that with you first before I talked to you about the agent stuff. So when I talked about reverse engineering and how to use this with agents, this is the same exact conversation that I use with agents as well. And the cool thing is you're going to be able to walk agents through this exact process and help them with listing appointments, help them in their closing process, because this is a universal closing language. It's really cool. It can be translated to any industry, to any service. That's the cool thing about Catch. Catch is used by the greatest: Tony Robbins, Chet Holmes, Kevin Nation, Frank Kern. And so I was always a good salesperson. And then once I learned Catch, it really put me together. So here's how you're going. Once I teach you starting next week how to generate leads online from Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, here's how you're going to have that conversation with agents. I'm just going to free flow this and talk to myself. So let's have some fun here. So, an agent's going to reach out to me and say, hey, that's great, John. What made you decide to reach out to me today after the small talk and all that's done? They're going to say, well, I see your post on Facebook, and you talk a lot about some marketing stuff. And, obviously I'm a real estate agent, so marketing is a big part of my life. And I know, because my broker tells me, and so does everybody else, I know that I need to be doing some more stuff on social media, and I'm not making the most of it. I know it's a highly effective way to communicate with people, and I just know that I'm not making the most of it. So I wanted to reach out to you, Ryan, and see what you may have that can help me. Well, great, John. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a few questions about your business, kind of get a sense of how you do business, what kind of business you're doing, to see if we're a fit or how we can work together. And at that time, I'll ask that you answer the questions for me. And while we're going through this, if you think of any questions you have for me or whatever, feel free to interrupt me and ask me, and I'll answer the questions as well. Does that sound fair? Yeah, Ryan, whatever. Okay, cool. So tell me a little bit about your business right now. Well, Ryan, I'm trying to get some more listings. We're in this marketplace right now to where it's a shadow inventory, and the banks are holding a lot of inventory back, and I want to get more listings, but there's not a whole lot of them out there, and I'm trying to convince buyers right now that now's the time to buy, now's the time to sell, and so is every other agent. So I need to be able to get in front of more people and get listings. That's really my ultimate goal. I've got buyers, right? We just don't have inventory to sell them. Okay. I see what you're saying. So you're really trying to focus on listings right now because you've got more buyers than you have inventory. Okay. So when's the last time you listed a property? Well, I've got 2 of them up there right now that are under contract, but they'll be closed here in the next 2 weeks, and I don't have anything else in my pipeline. I've got to figure out how I can get this going. Okay. And so what forms of advertising are you using right now? Well, I'm using direct mail, and obviously got a sign in the yard, and I've got a website, and I pay for some Zillow leads and stuff like that. But they're buyers, and I need listings. Okay, all right. So okay, that makes sense. So it sounds like your pain is that you need more listings, and you need to just basically, even outside of that, you need to convince more people that now's the time to sell their house. Now, in your current marketplace, is it really the time to sell their house? Yes, of course. They're be getting a great deal right now. And, who knows how long before the market pops or whatever. The bottom line is once the government releases or the banks release this shadow inventory, it's going to kill the price of homes. So they might as well sell for a higher dollar now. Plus, as more homes go off the market, more come in and so on and so on. They release them in slow pace. But at the same time, Ryan, I've got to figure out how to reach more people on Facebook. I've only got 100 friends. And I mainly use LinkedIn, but nobody's really giving me any responses over there. Okay, John, the real estate agent, here's what we'll do. you and I will work hand in hand to help get you more listings. We'll brainstorm a mastermind and create content together that will attract the right people, that will help it grow your brand and get you more exposure so more people can stick their hand up and say, hey, come appraise my house and tell me how much I should list it for, which will get you ultimately in front of more listing appointments. At the same time, we'll continue to grow and work your sphere of influence using social media so that instead of a 6 ways and 6 steps to spring cleaning newsletter that your company sends out once a quarter, we'll make sure they're interacting and talking with you on Facebook on a regular basis. And when they think real estate, they'll think of you. Does that sound like something that you'd be interested in? Is that what you're wanting to do? Yes. Yes, Brian. Tell me, how much is it? Take my wallet, please. They may, a lot of times they give me, well, that's part of it. And sometimes they may say, yeah, that's exactly what I want. Well, great. Well, I'm going to work with you hand in hand, and here's what we want to do. I want to be your exclusive loan officer. Well, you know, I have an MSA with Ronnie over there, and he pays me $3,000 a month. Wow, that's a good amount of deal. So has Ronnie got a good operation? You like him a whole lot? Has he ever brought you any kind of outside of the box marketing ideas, or has he ever done anything for you like I have? Well, you know, Ronnie does pay the $3,000 a month, and we do have an agreement, and you know, it's a month-to-month deal, and you know, he's a good loan officer. It's just that I got to grow my brand. So are you going to worry about Ronnie, or are you going to worry about you? And I'm not trying to take money out of Ronnie's mouth. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, we have, you know, decisions that make us anxious and nervous are usually the best ones. And listen, I can offer you anything that he can't because I'm a full-service bank as well. First Option's got everything that you could possibly need when it comes to mortgages, including me. And I'm going to help you with your marketing and make a difference to grow your brand. But I can't create this stuff with you and spend my time and invested knowledge in doing things for you to find out that the business is not going to be there. It just doesn't make sense. You know, I like you. You're a good person, but this doesn't make sense. So what's it going to take for me and you to become exclusive on this and working with it? And that's a really tough conversation, ladies and gentlemen, that I gave you an example of, right? It's actually super easy. And you might think, well, Ryan, how can I have the conversation with agents like that? That takes a tremendous amount of certainty. I'm going to teach you the things that you need to know to have certainty because you're going to know starting next week exactly what you should be doing. When I teach you the syndicate next week, you're going to go, dude, that's money. What's up? You're going to get it. But in the meantime, practice the catch conversation on your refinance leads that come in. Practice the catch conversation on any chance you get. Listen to this over and over again. 2 or 3 times usually does it. And practice it. You'll find that a horrible salesperson will get a 1 in 5 closing ratio using catch. A decent salesperson will get a 2 in 5, and an overachiever will get 3 in 5. Can you imagine right now if you're taking in 5 leads a day and you got 3 applications out of those 5 every day, whereas right now you're probably getting less than 1. But getting them to respond, set a time, agree to an agenda, getting them to acknowledge that they made decisions, and all the NLP framing that I put behind this will make all the difference in the world in your closing ratios. And the truth is, people are just sold. And the thing that Catch does, the T in Catch, that talk them through the pain, gives you an empathetic ear for their problem, a shoulder to cry on, so to speak. Tell me anything, I'm your loan officer, just like a doctor or a lawyer. It's true. People used to apply for mortgage with me. I said, there's 3 people. And I'm me everywhere. Like when I wrote loans and everything, there's 3 people you don't bullshit. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your financial guy. Your loan officer is what I always said when I was a mortgage person, when I was a licensed loan officer. You, doctor, your lawyer, and your loan officer. You want to tell them the truth because they're going to find out eventually. It's going to come out, so we might as well know it all up front. So with that being said, I guess there will be no questions because there's nobody on this call. But I'll get this link up and put back there for all of you to use. And I appreciate it, everything that we're doing here. Now, one thing I want to say before I get off the phone is it's important that you put this stuff into play. Whether you're sitting there and you think, oh, well, this is too easy, it won't work. the ability to teach agents the same exact 5-step process, the ability to have now a process that you know you're working through to achieve a specific result, make all the difference in the world. Trust me, it's easy, and that's the best things in life are easy, and the most effective things in sales are easy. Trust me. You just need somebody to put them together. So I'll catch y'all next Tuesday at 2 o'clock Central Time. Same phone number, same call-in. Make sure you watch the video. I'm super excited. Hey, you know, all this information is great, but the key to everything, 100%, I always say information plus or knowledge plus action equals success. If you take the action part out of the equation, you get nothing. So with that in mind, it's cool that you got to listen to this today, but it's really cool that you go out there and you implement it and you show First Option Mortgage leadership that you're an action taker and that you're thankful for them investing in your future. With that being said, have a great day. Catch you next week.
The moderator has left the conference.